Now let's place this new title in our titles folder. And if we go in here, we can find our title. I like to place titles on V3 or V4, so let's place that on V4. Let's bring our timeline cursor to the beginning or press home on the keyboard and make our view a little larger. And we can also make it a little bit larger by dropping our effect controls to a smaller frame. We can also move this in a little bit more. Now that we have a title in here, it's defaulted to 10 seconds like we set it up in the preferences, which is right here. If we want it shorter than 10 seconds, we can make it whatever we want. Let's bring it to 6 seconds and drag it here. So now for 6 seconds we will have this on screen. Now let's zoom in just a little bit. Now because our edit point to the music was right here, you can see that right here, let's trim our title just to that spot. Now in order to have the title fade in at the beginning and fade out at the end, we need to add 2 transitions. The quick way to do this is if you select the clip and press Command D, it will automatically create one at the beginning and one at the end at the default length. If you simply only want it on the one side, let's undo that, and then without it selected, you bring your cursor to the beginning and you make sure that track is selected here. You turn off this one because we don't want it to fade here, and then you press Command D, and then it will only create it on this one because this one isn't highlighted. If you wanted to add a transition for the audio, because both are selected, you can do the same thing. You can right click at the beginning and go apply default transitions, and then there is your constant power fade in. In Premiere Pro it's called constant power, essentially just means a fade. Okay, so if we undo that, we can also do the same thing by having the cursor at the beginning and going Command Shift D, and then that'll do the audio. Adding Shift makes it happen on the audio. Without Shift, it'll happen on video. We can increase the length of this, and then our title isn't showing up because we have a crossfade. Let's enable that again. Let's turn that one off, and let's see what it looks like so far. Okay, so when it changes to the new clip, the title disappears, which is a cool effect, and the transition happens at the beginning. Now you'll notice when we were playing, the quality of the letters was not that great, so we can increase it a little bit, but it'll act a little slower. When we play, it should be okay though. But you'll notice the letters do look better now. Let's save that, Command S. Let's increase the fade in. Go to the beginning and see what that looks like. Great. Now if we wanted this to stand out a little more, we can add a drop shadow. So if we go up to the effects window, we can go to video effects, and then we have a whole bunch of options here. Now we could go through one by one and try to find what we're looking for, or we can simply at the top here type in what we want. Let's type in drop for drop shadow, and then anything that has drop in it shows up. So right now drop shadow, that's great. We can see that it's under the perspective tab. Let's click and drag the drop shadow down to our intro title, and then it added a slight drop shadow. Now because this is selected, we have some more options now in our effect controls. We've added a drop shadow. Okay, so if we click here, nothing shows up. If we click here, here's our drop shadow. So we can increase the opacity to 100%. We increase the distance to a little bit, and we can soften it up by about 20 pixels or so. Now without it, that's what it looks like, and with it, that's what it looks like. So it just adds just a little bit of a black edge and makes the text pop off the screen a little more. The other options, you could do shadow only, which sometimes gives a cool effect depending on the softness or the opacity, or whatever the case is, or if you have other effects layered on this title.